Hello, all my beautiful ladies and handsome fellas. Welcome to Vero's Circle. In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we do have another guest who I'm very proud to introduce you to. She's my mentor out of Texas. Her name is Christina. So I would like you all to give a nice, warm welcome to Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm
She's
good. I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
good.
Well, I didn't think to wear my pink. I should have put my pink on today.
Oh yeah, that is true.
But
But
it's
hey,
okay.
we're both wearing green, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to tell my viewers a little bit about yourself, where you live, where you come from, your upbringing. Kind of a little bit. Are you married? Do you have kids? Give them kind of an idea of who Christina is.
Okay, so I am Christina and born and raised in Texas and very proud Texan. And I've been married now almost 3 years. So I'm still pretty much a newlywed, but we're both empty nesters. So we have 5 children, 8 grandchildren, and I work at a community college here in Fort Worth. I've got 25 years, well, actually 29 years of full-time service at a community college here in Texas.
Oh.
And yeah, so I'm pretty loyal. I'm almost loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
I don't move very often. I'm very consistent. And then I've been building a Mary Kay business also for 28 years that I absolutely love. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Yes, I love it. So you you said you're married now for 3 years. So were you married previously? Obviously,
Yes.
the age of the
So
kids don't.
So I was married. My first marriage was to the father of my children, and we were married for about 9 years. We met when we were very young, like 14, 15 years old, and then just kind of dated off and on through high school, became parents, got married, and then life just sometimes be life.
Right.
So
Yeah, I feel that
kind of had
100%.
separate ways and did our best to co-parent our children. Maybe we weren't very successful most of the time, probably, but we were very young and
Yeah.
still, trying to find out who we were as, just individuals outside
Yeah.
of being parents, because we were so young when we had our first child. But after that, I was a single parent for 21 years before I met my husband. So I raised my kids and met, a wonderful man that God blessed me with.
Yeah.
And it's been great.
That's amazing. Yeah, I definitely feel the whole co-parent thing. I've been going through that actually. I went through that with my parents. When I was younger, they could not co-parent. It was like World War III. And so I did the best I could to try to get along with my kid's dad, just so I didn't have to do that. And then just recently, I kind of seen a little bit of my grandson starting to go through that. So it kind of brought back a lot of memories. And I'm just like, oh no. But, I pray for the best for them for sure. So, we'll see how it goes. And hopefully they can work things out and be a little bit better than I was for sure. So,
Yes, we definitely learn from our mistakes. That's
yeah.
for sure.
So, as your kids are growing, you then became a Mary Kay consultant, correct? And that,
Yeah.
yeah. So, if you could tell
So,
the viewers a little bit about how you became a Mary Kay consultant, and
okay, so funny story. Okay, so prior to Mary Kay, I didn't wear makeup at all. My makeup consisted of mascara, blush, and Carmex. And when I went to my first Mary Kay appointment, I I fell in love with the skincare, because that's the one thing that my mom did teach me, because she's not a user either, but she taught me about good skincare. So I fell in love with the skincare, so that's what I wanted. Well, then they met with me and asked me if I considered becoming a consultant myself. And the two friends of mine, because I was helping out another friend
Right.
by bringing along a couple of friends with me. So the girls that were with me during that time were like, Christina, yeah, you should do it. We buy from you. And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? So, and growing up, I'd always helped my aunt with her Tupperware parties.
Yeah.
Because she was a director in Tupperware.
Nice.
And so I thought, oh, sure, why not? Well, back then we used to have to do a paper check, write out a paper check, a paper agreement, and mail it into the company. That's like in the 1900s when things were very low.
Yes, for sure.
So during that time, while we were waiting for that to go through, I thought, Christina, what are you doing? What are you thinking? You don't wear makeup. You don't even know what the first thing about it. What are you going to do? How are you going to teach anybody something that you don't know?
Right.
And I thought, oh, that was probably the dumbest decision I'd ever made. So I stayed up all night on that Friday night, waiting for the sun to come up so that I could call my friend and ask her if she still had my agreement, because something came up and I couldn't afford the $100 at the time. It had to be repurposed somewhere else. Nothing came up. I was just being a chicken. And so I met with her, so she was like, yeah, sure, I have it. I won't mail it. Well, fast forward, that following Thursday, I met with her and my senior director, and, she's like, Brenda's like, Christina, are you teachable and trainable? And I said, yes, absolutely. And she said, well, give me 6 months to a year and let me coach you and teach you on what to do in this business and how to build this business. And if you absolutely hate it, we will love you as a happy customer from that
yeah.
on. And I was like, okay. And here I am 28 years later, still loving my business, still pouring into other people. And I actually did wedding makeup today for a customer and friend of mine. So I was excited. Yeah. So I get to love on people, and that's probably what I love the most about my business, is that I get to love on people.
Nice. And for those of you who don't know, I actually stumbled across Christina and I got a facial online with Mary Kay, and I got some lipstick and some blush, and I loved it, and I became a consultant. I have not done anything yet, but it will come. I'm kind of Christina back in the 1900s for right now. So let's fast forward. So you're raising your boys and you're working full time and you have a business on the side. So for those of you at home, it is possible, ladies, if you're a single mom and you're working, you can also do a business on the side. It will definitely bring you peace of mind when you start getting that steady income, and it feels as a source of empowerment, being able to have that money and not feeling that you struggled, because as a single mom, we tend to think that we're just struggling trying to make it to the next payday. How are we going to come with school clothes? So that was a good side hustle for you to raise your boys, right?
Yes. So and I think what made it so much easier is that because of the freedom and flexibility that I can have in my business, I work when I want to work.
Right.
I set aside the days that I want to work my business, and I work it around that. I work my business around my family and my family schedule, rather than having to work in a second job around, my family around a second job. So I was at all of my kids' events. Even though I still had this business, I was still at my children's events, their sporting events, all of their things that they had going on in school. I was there. I was present. So that's what I love the most. That's what helped. And when you get the college that I work for, we get paid once a month.
Wow.
Sometimes, and that month is real long. I don't know how to get paid any other way but once a month. So I think if I were to ever go to another job, I'd be lost.
Right.
I'd forget to do my bills or something. So that month would get really long, and toward the end, I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know where this money's. We need grocery money because I'm feeding 3 hungry boys.
Yeah.
And I need, we need some gas money to get us through the next, couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd come home, and on my answering machine, I'm really dating myself now. On my answering machine, I would have an order. A customer would have called, left me a voicemail with their order. I fill that order, and then there was my grocery money for the week. There was my gas money for the week, or the kids' lunch money for the week. So, building that consistent clientele is what helped supplement my income all those years.
And God blessed you a lot of the times. And then
He was always faithful.
Yeah. And then fast forward, he brought you a man, and you're married. And you were recently had been diagnosed with cancer, right?
Yes. So I was diagnosed back in March with ductal carcinoma, which is a form of breast cancer, and it's primarily like estrogen driven, hormone driven. So thankfully, by the grace of God, I was partnered in with the most amazing doctors in the area, the top, surgeons, the top oncologists, and so they've been taking really good care of me. And so yeah, that was a journey for sure. I think the first month I was probably in denial.
Yeah.
And then one day it just really set in. And I'm like, okay, Lord, it wasn't supposed to be like this.
Right.
I just got married. The kids are grown. They're all doing their own thing. They're all like living their best life.
Yeah.
And now this, what happened? And so when I finally just broke, my husband did all he could to just kind of to console me, and I said it wasn't supposed to be like this.
Right.
And so the next day I told my boss, I need some time. I need some time to kind of process and spend some time with the Lord. She's a believer, also, and so she understood. I said I just need to spend some time at the feet of Jesus.
Right.
And she said, okay, take your time. So I did. I went to prayer. I got in the Word. I listen to worship music. I journal. I do a journal. I do have a blog that I also write in, and a lot of that is just my testimony of what God's done throughout my life. So that day, I spent some time with the Lord, and I said, okay. And I just got on my face. I was on my face on the floor, listening to my worship music and just at His feet. And I said, Lord, I need to understand. Help me to understand. Help me to know if everything's going to be okay. And so He just took me through my life. Day one, when I was born a blue baby without oxygen for 24 hours, I survived. When I was subject to abuse as a child, I overcame that. When I became, married and had to leave that relationship and became a single mom, He provided, so He just kind of took me through my life and said, I was with you through all of that. I'm going to be with you through this.
Yes.
And I said, okay. And I felt peace and comfort. And then when I started, they started talking to me about all of the treatments that I was going to have, and the chemotherapy, the radiation, the hormone therapy, the surgeries, all the things. Yeah. I thought, okay, Lord, this was supposed to be cut and dry. I was supposed to go in, have my surgery, and be done in 12 weeks. And that was it. And they were like, no, it's in your lymph node. We're gonna go ahead and when they were prepping me for my surgery, because the plan was to have a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction.
Right.
And I was going to be good because the tumors were so small. Well, it turned out that when they were prepping me for surgery, I had to have MRIs done. And in that MRI, they noticed there was a second lesion forming on the right side. And so she said, I want to pause. I want to do a biopsy of your lymph nodes to make sure they're clear.
Yeah.
I said, okay. Well, it came back and it was positive for some cancer cells.
Oh, no.
And so she said, we're going to have to pause big surgery and we're going to do radiation to the right side.
Dang.
And I said, okay. And so my medical oncologist was recommending chemotherapy and radiation. And I'm like, I just knew in my spirit, like, I don't think I need the chemo.
Right.
I think I just know, so there was a test that they could do to determine for sure if chemo was going to benefit me. So we did that test. It came back, and she was very shocked. She herself said, I'm very shocked that it came back so low for reoccurrence that, because of your proliferation rate, your tumors were growing pretty fast. And so she said, but for that proliferation rate, your oncotype score coming back so low, that's a surprise to me. So she said, we're going to hold off on chemo. But during that time, when they were trying to schedule me for all these, treatments, I'm like, Lord, this is not, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I was
Saw that
writing,
faith.
I was writing in my journal one morning because I was having another meltdown and processing all of this information. And so I'm writing in my journal, and I hear a little whisper over here that says, "Do you trust me?" And I'm like, okay. So I just kind of keep writing, and then I hear it a second time, "Trust me." And it wasn't really loud. It was just like a little whisper. And I said, "Lord, is that you?"
Yeah.
No. So I'm just kind of writing it again. And then the third time it says, "Do you trust me?" And I said, I put my pen down and I said, "Yes, Lord, I trust you, but I'm scared."
Hey, what a beautiful story. We're actually
I'm
going to
scared.
go to a break, and we will be back in just a few minutes. That way you can finish your story.
Okay.
4-5 screaming at survival. On my way to hell looking for my rivals. No, I'm dying in it. No fairy tale living. They catch you slipping, then homie, it's your grave they digging. Your picture.
Welcome back, all my beautiful queens and handsome fellas. For those of you that are just tuning in, I do have Christina out of Texas. She is a breast cancer survivor, so we are in the middle of her telling her story of her chemo and how God has whispered, "Do you trust me?" And for those of you that are at home, having a relationship with the man upstairs is something that is truly amazing. And when you follow him, your life changes for the better. I definitely promise you that. So you heard, "Do you trust me?"
Oh. Yeah, so the third time when I heard, "Do you trust me?" I put my pen down and I said, "I know that's you, Lord. Yes, I do trust you, but I'm scared." And so he said, so at that moment, I just sat with my eyes closed and just kind of was crying because I was scared. And then I had a vision of me at my front door at my house, but I was standing on the outside.
Uh-huh.
And I was on the outside of the threshold, and it was pitch black on the inside of the house.
Oh.
And I'm like, I felt like a child. It was my full size body, sort of.
Yeah.
Not very tall. But it was my full size grown up self, but my spirit was like that of a child.
Yeah.
And I was looking in this very dark threshold and thinking, I don't know what's over there. I'm scared. And then a hand reached out for mine.
Uh-huh.
All I saw was like from here
Yeah.
out, and the hand reached out for mine. And just something in my spirit said, I can trust. I put my hand in that one and I stepped through the threshold.
Uh-huh.
And for me, that was God saying, I'm walking with you through the unknown. What you don't see, I'm with you.
Right.
So don't worry, just trust me. I'll get you to the other side, right, and I will work with you through this. And so he has done that. He has taken me through every single step of this journey. I have had peace that surpasses all understanding. Right. And I give him all the glory. I give God all the glory because only that peace, only that kind of peace can come from him.
Right.
And so I just encourage anybody that's going through something similar, whether it's with their health or even just in life. Because right, like I said earlier, sometimes life just be lifing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had that lifing, and it just kind of, some days it just kind of brings you down and it just puts you in a really bad spot. And, as you're telling your story, I always think of the footprints prayer, because when I would go through all these storms, and I at that point I didn't really have a relationship with God, and that came later on, and I always was like, why do you hate me? Why do you put me through this? All the time. But I always came out of those storms. So it was like, so when I was presented the footprints prayer, I'm like, okay, I was not by myself. That was him carrying me because I came out of it. And I just have been really building my relationship with God and trusting that everything's gonna fall into place. And my life has changed. I've been doing even more praying than I have before, and I've just really been trying to make that relationship with Him, and it's been amazing. It's an amazing journey, and I feel like God has brought us together in some way. You know what I mean? It was just, I always believe what's meant to be is going to be. And I completely gave everything to God, and so I just pray, and I don't get upset anymore if things don't work out right. I'm like, He has a bigger plan. So I'm truly blessed, and I'm glad that you are in recovery and you have your husband supportive, your boys are supportive, your mom, she's still alive, well and kicking it. So that's amazing. I love
Yeah,
it.
she's doing great. She lost her phone earlier, and I'm like, I track her. She's so cute. She's so funny. I told her a couple of years ago. I said, I need your location all the
Right.
time. I'm gonna want you to share your location with me indefinitely.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, but don't be stalking me. No, okay. But yeah, she's a sweetheart. She's been, my rock my whole life.
Yeah.
I was born and raised, by a single parent, and so I had the best example to
Right.
learn from when I became a single parent.
Yeah.
She just doesn't quit. She's
Right.
77 years old, and she still helps with her great grandchildren now,
Nice.
and just active. We can't get her to
Right.
sit still.
Right, for sure. Well, Christina, I am so blessed to have you on my podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
We
having
will,
me.
we will link all your information in the end of the podcast. We'll link all her information where you can see her blog, her Mary Kay info, and all that fun stuff. So thank you again for joining me. And for those of you at home, just remember to make sure you have a relationship with God. I just cannot express that enough. And for those of you that are single parents out there wondering where the next meal is going to come from, just remember, have faith. You can always do a side hustle. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. God will get you through it. Until the next time, stay tuned. Have a great day.